and welcome to another weekly update. Hope you're doing well. They're digging up the road outside my house, so hopefully everything will be all right and you don't get too much background noise. Anyway, let's talk about the things that are happening this week. And the first of those is kind of interesting news around the SharePoint News Connector. It's being retired. So this is something you may still be relying on. It's worth checking for sure. It's been around a really long time. I think it was one of the original connectors, that SharePoint News Connector. It allows you to take information from SharePoint, news from SharePoint, and bring it into Microsoft Teams. There are other ways of doing this now, and I think that's probably why this one is being retired. And there's a blog post about it that goes through exactly what your alternatives are. I will say, like, if you don't already have Viva, then, I mean, if you already have Viva, there's definitely good ways to do this already. If you don't have Viva, you should be able to use Teams Workflow to do the same thing. I haven't yet tried that to see whether you can do that without any licenses or any changes or anything like that. I feel like you probably can, but I'm just kind of putting it out there that I haven't specifically tried it yet. I will try it. And I'll try and do a blog post about it as well if that's useful. This is happening quite quickly. From the 22nd of July, you won't be able to create any new connectors that are the SharePoint News type of connector. And the phased out of configuration of configured connectors is going to start from August the 26th. I don't think it really sort of says how long it's going to take. Does it start on August 26th and take 5 years, or does it take 1 month? So either way, if you're currently using the SharePoint News Connector, you need to be making plans to get off it. Okay, so blog post about it. So maybe your first task this morning is to figure out if it's being used in your organization, and then if it is, you can figure out what to do about it. All right, so next up, it's another month, so it's time for another blog post from the Microsoft Teams team about all the things that are new in Microsoft Teams. Now, I do usually scan these, and I don't tend to talk about lots of the things that are on there because other people are doing that really well already. However, if there's anything to do with development, developers, impacting on developers, I will try and call it out, and that's the case here. So there's a section in the June update called Platform. There is a very small item that I just want to spend some time on because I'm not sure that anyone else will. And that's this one here, simplifying the personal app header. So if you already write apps for Microsoft Teams, then basically the Chrome, the Fireplace, if you like, that your app sits in is going to get a little bit more streamlined. The About tab is being moved out. The Chat tab is being moved to a right-hand side panel. I think it should mean, by sort of reading through the changes, I think it should mean a little bit more screen real estate, which is nice, and a bit of a simpler experience for users, which again is really nice. So just be aware that's coming, or it may already be here depending on your tenant. So yeah, just go and maybe if you do own an app already, just go and check it looks okay. Probably a good idea. But that's coming. There's nothing you can do about it. It's rolling out anyway. So yeah, it's more one just to kind of be aware of. Okay, slightly unusual blog post next around Microsoft Graph, PowerShell, and CLI. And the interesting thing with this one is when you, I don't know if you remember this, but when you go and add the PowerShell, like the Graph PowerShell module or the CLI module, you need to authenticate your AD instance, or you need to allow these Microsoft-owned applications to work on your tenant, which is all slightly odd because it's Microsoft anyway, so it always feels quite odd. The standard process for doing this with third-party applications is that you get the permission pop-up and you check you check the permissions are what you expect, and all the rest of it. And there's a section in there for verified publisher that allows you essentially to look to make sure that the app that you think you are giving admin rights to on your tenant, or whatever it is, or a bunch of permissions to work on your tenant, is actually from the people you think it is. And that verified publisher thing is a process that organizations can go through, or ISVs can go through with Microsoft to attest that they are who they say they are. There's been an anomaly for a while now that some first-party Microsoft tools, such as Microsoft Graph PowerShell, the CLI, haven't had the Microsoft as a verified publisher. They've come up as unverified with a warning, which is kind of weird for most of us, but a real issue for enterprise IT who have these rules they have to follow around verified publishers. Well, I've got good news for everybody, because the left hand of Microsoft has talked to the right hand of Microsoft, and now Microsoft's own applications are verified by the Microsoft Corporation as being by the Microsoft Corporation. So if that's not at all confusing or messy, well, good. So it's a good thing that it's happened. I've no idea why it took so long and why it didn't happen like that from day one. But anyway, here we are. We have verified first-party tools, which is good. I mean, like I say, it's going to be a headache remover for enterprise IT who have been trying to work around this problem for a while. So it's really good to see. And it's just generally a good idea because it means that everybody can kind of double down on the recommendation to look for that blue tick. Make sure you're installing apps from verified publishers, so without any of these weird exemptions around, well, unless it's a Microsoft tool or this, that, and the other. So this is good news. It's just interesting in a slightly funny way that it kind of took a long time to get here. All right, for the last pick this week, going somewhere completely different. Nothing really to do with, well, that's not true. So more developer focused than it is Microsoft 365 focus. It's a blog post by John Skeet, who, if you haven't heard of already, very, very competent C# developer, long-time developer, lots and lots of experience, plenty of real-world experience as well through a variety of companies. Interesting history around Stack Overflow. But he's done a blog post. He lives in the UK, like myself. We don't live that far away from each other, actually. Anyway, there's an election coming up in the UK, like there is in other parts of the world. I wasn't going to include this if there wasn't an election happening in lots of other parts of the world as well, but because there are lots of elections, I thought this was kind of interesting for lots of people. And John has found, or he's put together a website that surfaces information from, I think, one or maybe more than one different APIs in different places, which is by itself interesting if you're into elections and politics, which I kind of am. So it's interesting on that front. But actually what's more interesting is that John, in this blog post, goes into the detail of how he built it. And so for me, that's super interesting because I know like John's work, I know his experience levels. And so him writing a blog post explaining how and why he's architected this solution in this particular way is super interesting to me. And I think it should be interesting to you if you're a developer, if you're an architect. I can sort of... I know that John will have made good decisions in here, and he's done a good job of explaining why he's made some of the decisions he's made as well. So this is the blog post. Again, problem statement at the top, digging into kind of the data and what this website does, and then straight into the implementation. It's an ASP.NET website, blah, 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 blah. Here's some APIs. And then, like I say, this kind of narrative, if you like, of the things he found going through, the choices he made, and all the rest of it. I thought that was really interesting and cool. So hopefully you might do too. All right, so I think that's about it for interesting news this week. I think we've probably due another bout of news before the kind of summer season really gets going. Microsoft tend to go quite quiet over the summer, but we're not quite there yet, I don't think. It feels like we've got another couple of weeks before that really kicks in. So we'll look out for that. And last week was Comsverse, which was really, really good, great to catch up with everybody and get a feel for what's going on in the industry again. And that was really, really nice. And this week, a couple more things, speaking at a user group in Southampton in the week. But other than that, just keeping an eye on what's going on. And longer term, looking to some of this newer AI Copilot-y stuff, working on that in the background. All right, I think that's everything from me. I'm going to let you go. Have a great week, whatever it is you're doing, and I'll see you again next time.